Hello, everyone, and welcome to Friday Live at 5. Happy to be back. This week, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Although it's a wonderful subject. It's the Duomo in Florence. I wanted to do this so that we could address a couple of things. How to approach this very complicated series of buildings and roofs and simplify that, but also show it. And secondly, another way to simplify it, I think I want to try and do it with a 3-color palette. And you could maybe even do it with a 2-color palette. I'm going to use red iron oxide, ultramarine or cobalt, I'm not sure which yet. I think I may go for the cobalt, and yellow ochre. Now you could do this with a 2-color palette and get a very interesting picture. The burnt sienna or the transparent oxide red and one of the blues, the ultramarine or the cobalt. And then to kind of drive the point home, when I do the cooking segment at the end, I'm going to do a dish which kind of reinforces the idea, an Italian dish. Here we're going to use paper, water, and 3 colors. The dish, burro alice, is going to be pasta, the water that the pasta is cooked in, butter, sage, and anchovy. And you could do it with 2. You could do it with the butter and the sage. But that's neither here nor there. So the first thing I want to do is get the drawing into it. So, yeah, it's scary. I get that. But let's break it down into its components. So, maybe, yes, this is kind of about the halfway mark, but we've talked about that before. You can have something divided in the middle, provided you make asymmetrical things elsewhere. And this is kind of on the center, but we can move it a little bit off center. This definitely takes it off center. And then we've got all this business down here to do that for us. So maybe a little above half, actually, because we've got the mountains back, the Tuscan hills back there. I'm going to, that's my key horizontal. I'm going to make the Duomo my key vertical. The campanile here, I'm going to make a subdominant vertical. And I notice that this is a little higher than that, lightning rod notwithstanding. So when you're trying to draw a symmetrical shape, try to find the center line. Well, boy, look at that. That's almost in the middle, isn't it? So what? I'm going to darken these up so you can see them. Try to draw it off of both sides. There's the... Now, when you're dealing with a thing like this, go for your verticals first. Boom, 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 boom. Then do that stuff. Then put the angles. So, not sure yet whether I want to include the balloons in the back. This was the view from our hotel with my friends Cindy and Carol and David when we visited there. And you could see this in the morning from the dining room. And then if you went outside, there's like a kind of a balcony area outside the dining area if you walked around it. And you could get this wonderful view. Now I'm doing the facade here. Okay, so difference between how I am treating this versus a more conventional treatment of it. I'm going to go for the mood. I'm going to go for the morning light. It's kind of gray. It was overcast. While we were there, it was somewhat rainy, and it would clear up in the afternoons, midday to the afternoons, and then it would get very sunny. We had a wonderful time. There is some sort of covering, which I'm going to keep in there. And the building is not circular. It's kind of actually more octagonal, I think. And this silhouette, that's the important thing to get. It's like whenever you paint a famous building, you pretty much got to get the silhouette of it correct. It's like the Eiffel Tower or the Chrysler Building or something like that. You can't take a lot of leeway with it. So mindful of the fact that this is not as tall as, it looks taller than where this is, but that still comes above this. So here's this, so that's a little taller. Now I could go straight across like that, but that's not the angle we're at. I want to find the thin face and the thick face. That's the thick face, that's the thin face. So call it 2/3 and 1/3. Always get your verticals first. Then I'm going to do that's at an angle, hold the pencils. That's pretty much level to us, right? So, and it's indentation a bit. Now this is what we might call the conventional view. There's another little. Now, this building coming out of, take a look where this intersects that. If that's the center line, notice that this is left of center. This is how we do these things. Then we hold a line. Where does this come with relation to that? If I've decided this is going to be here, that's a little bit below it, okay? So I've probably drawn it way too big. And then the face of it. Always on a domed building, try to make sure that your left side and your right side are the same curvature. That's a biggie. There's a circular thing here, a circular thing here. These are fun things. There's another. Now, this roof line here. We've already predetermined that it comes a little bit left of the center of the Duomo. So it's probably going to be up there, right? So always get the right line before you erase the bad line. I'm not going to draw windows and stuff like that yet. There's a lot of detail on these. There's 4. So make sure that they are not equally spaced. You'll want to make sure that they're getting closer together as they go towards the back. Then there is a side, and there's a name for these things, and I apologize because I don't know what they are. The church structure has a very specific thing. Now we've got this, we got this, we got this, we got this. Use a ruler if you need to. Note that that comes below that. Probably going to paint the hills in the back. Now this business, all of this lovely. Look for that crazy little silhouette there. Doesn't have to be perfect. This does. That silhouette is telling. People know this. They've seen it in movies, that kind of thing. So you got to get that bit right. All this, you don't have to. So here's another version of the same thing, a little bit different lighting. Here's what would you call it? A urban sketching type view from the same, pretty much the same angle, where the detail of the building is shown. You can see here there's architectural detail that in this one they've got a scrim over it because they are working on it or something. So I might borrow from that to well, you know what? I'm going to go what I saw. So, because the whole time we were in Italy, there was a lot of repair to these gorgeous, beautiful old places. They take care of their stuff. Now down here, how are we going to make something out of that? I'm going to move the palette for the time being. What I like about these roofs is they stair-step us back up to our key subject. So you don't have to get this stuff scrupulously correct like you do that. Because as I remember walking around town there was a lot of, down at street level, they've gone to pains to keep things looking ancient and medieval. When you get up here on the roof, they got these little gardens and skylights and solar panels and that sort of thing, which I like because I think that tells the tale of I'm here in 2024, not 1724 or 1624. So I'm going to look for this big shape first. That, find my angles. Got a nice triangle there. That comes almost over here. Now there's another one off of this, which has an interesting jog. I like that. I mean, it's almost the kind of thing that I would have done had it not been there. Now this angle, let's find that. And there's all kinds of stuff you don't really need to put in, right? So look at that. There's an angle. It's not level. We're going to think it's level, but it's not level. So there's a little roof over here. we have the option to make these things different sizes and change their position if we see fit. Now, one thing I might look for is let's go to this one. Hold your pencil, that is almost level. So I'm just looking for these roof planes, and they're geometrics. They are simple geometrics because they're made by human beings, and therefore they're going to be a triangle, a rectangle, a circle, a half circle, any number of things of that type. Do I need to put them all in? No. Can I lose a lot of them? Definitely going to. Now I do want to preserve some highlights here and there, which will kind of stair-step me. Also, not just the dark stair-stepping me up to here, but some lights too. And the majority of them are like little parallelograms. Which is a rectangle in an italic position, if that makes sense. So, having gotten this drawn, that lovely detail on the buildings, that's going to happen later. Okay, look at that. See, that's a very thin sliver. Very thin sliver. Thinner sliver, two thick slivers. So, and I'm just indicating those for my I like that little bit of smoke coming up there. If you see a triangle, paint a triangle. If you see a rectangle, paint a rectangle. They're man-made. They have to be simple geometrics, unless you're doing Francesco Guardi. And all bets are off. Get these dark enough so that I don't accidentally paint over them. So, windows, we don't worry about windows. That comes later. Okay, now, I believe I'm going to go for cobalt and yellow ochre and shoot, yeah. I'm going to get a weak runny mix, meaning a lot of water and a little bit of paint. with this yellow ochre. And I'm going to, I've talked about in past about the tie-dyed shirt or the holy mess. And we're definitely going to do a tie-dyed shirt this go round. So maybe I will make an X so that I don't overshoot them on the little places I want to keep white. And I'm going to allow some skips as well. Because I can, no, wait a minute. No, yeah. If you paint over it, the X will stay. I'm just going to try to be mindful. Doesn't hurt. This has to be very pale and runny, but dark enough that I will get a degree of contrast against the white. So I'm just going to bang in here. I know this is going to look like a mess. Going to get down to about this level. In other words, rooftop level. Just to remind myself I'm going to miss these things that I want to miss. Oh, I've got it. That's okay. I'll just have to be careful. John. I can get it back. I can get it back with, if I have to go with the white, what the heck. So now I'm going to go with the cobalt blue. And this is going to look dangerous. I want to get that rainy early morning look. I'm just going to let that drizzle and do what it does. Maybe I'll even help it a bit with the spray. From a distance. I want to get a, what's the word I want? Like a verga. Now all of this I'm going to let get blue. And then I'm going to try to miss my highlights and my windows and things like that. Tuscan Hills. Maybe a little bit of yellow ochre in these areas. Maybe even a little bit of the burnt sienna. Now you literally could do this. What I'm doing now, you could do in burnt sienna. Oh, there I got another one of my windows. Doggone it. I'm sloppy today. That crazy color that they paint the buildings or the sides of buildings or the stucco or whatever in Italy. It's so hard to match. Naples yellow doesn't quite get it. And I'm going to wait a bit here. Maybe go to a smaller brush. So, show you the difference. Go back into that cobalt. And maybe a little bit of to dirty it up. A little bit of, this is slower moving now, the transparent iron oxide into this area. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use slower moving paint because there's water already here, right? So that's too much. Get some brown in it. Not the last time we're going to be going into these areas. Get that too, because this too. The side closest to us, or facing us, is catching the is in shadow, and the areas to the left. Oh, shouldn't have done that. Let's try this. Okay. That's a little more of the burnt sienna in it. It's going to be a holy mess for a little while. But I don't want hard edges. I don't want the urban sketching look, because this is not an urban sketch. This is it's a watercolor. More of that transparent on it, slower moving because we are in something that already has some water on it. And then at some point we are going to let it dry. And, you know, hit it with the hairdryer and we may even be doing some glazing. I'm going to get into that blue again and get under here. Not a lot of light getting to some of these areas because it's against the light. Now definitely cobalt and ultramarine, cobalt and transparent iron oxide. Very wet down here, so I have to be careful. But I don't want hard edges, so it's all right. I eliminated the rooftop garden over there. Oh, there's a little roof over here that I neglected. Slower moving paint. I'm probably going to wind up, let's get some cobalt, glazing this darker, and this. Heck, probably that too. There's a roof in here. Remember, if you've painted there recently in an area, it's still wet, so you need to include a wee bit stronger mix of paint when you go back in, so that the edges don't. Well, that goes way off the page, doesn't it? And I'm just waiting on this as it sets up so that I can now more and more and more of the oxide red. There, roof there, roof here, roof here. Now you can make this, one of the reasons I don't worry about these edges being not hard and wobbly is because they are tile roofs. So they're going to have a wobbly edge because of what they are. And so that looks too brown. So I mix up some blue. And now I'm starting, against those light colors, I'm starting to get a approximation what I'm looking at. So more blue. With the brown. Where is it? How big is it? It's very dry up there because we haven't painted there for a while, so we can fool around up there. You're mindful of, and you see I leave a little bit of the one behind, and that creates the ribs to the dome. One there, strong one there. If it looks bluer or browner. Hi Carol, hi Cindy. You guys remember this from the dining room? I'm just worried about my shapes, where they're at. How big they are. We're going to detail this building, don't worry. That is going to come at the end. I'm going to do it in such a way as to hopefully still produce the look of an early rainy morning remember that rainy morning. That's when we went to Siena and Monteregione and that other cute little place. Very ancient place. And then the sun came out, and then we went to that vineyard, Casa Emma. And it was quite a day. So I'm not good, well, maybe I'll put some windows. That's going to get glazed later, but not yet. I think we are at the place where I want to a little more. Two colors actually. I really am just I used some burnt sienna at the beginning. I mean some yellow ochre at the beginning, and then after this it's pretty much the transparent iron oxide and the cobalt. Now from here on out we will probably do glazing. And I mean, oh, I got a nice rainy morning look out of that sky there. So I think I want to take a little bit of cobalt that's sort of dirty. Get the front of that. It really does stick out against . It's very tempting to look into these areas and see all manner of detail when it's actually in quite a bit of shade. Like, for example, this area. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be glazing this as well. Yeah, look at that. It's all kind of, and leave a little bit of the previous color there. So maybe I'll the same mix I'm using, but I'll put a little bit more water in it. Mindful of where I've been painting. I was just there recently, it's wet, so I have to go in with thicker paint, possibly. If you're not sure, put your head down to the side of the paper and have a look. If you can see some glisten, then you know, oh boy, it's wet. Yeah, look at this. I'm probably going to need to do that, and I bet I got to come back and get even more. Now I'm going to reinforce my distant with a very pale mix. I'm going to reinforce my distant Tuscan hills. Okay, let's dry this. And I will try to mute things so that you don't have to listen to it. Okay, now, let's see. Let's get a brush that we can do a little bit of, well, I'll just keep using the one I've been using. I think I'm going to erase anything in these little highlighted areas. Now I want to, oh golly, yeah, see this whole thing, I could glaze this with a little bit of cobalt blue. Send it all back. One face, I want to leave one face here that's somewhat lit. And when I glaze, everything that's underneath, some of that original color still shows. And I'm going to go right over that too, because I'm probably going to have to reinforce it as well, which means another drying. So, and possibly a little bit of more brown in that, in the front of that, and that, and just about there. That is basically the darkest portion of the image. Now I'm going to blot the brush and I'm going to walk that down. Now you could go another color combination that might be good for a subject like this. Might be an iron oxide or red or something. Has a little bit more, what will we say? Not as brown as the iron oxide, possibly a little more reddishness in it. So I'm going to reinforce some of these roof shapes that I'm using to stair-step us up to the chief subject. Now that's going to probably want a little bit of blue in it. That's detail like that's going to come later. Okay, so that's dark, that's dark, that's dark. This is dark. I'm leaving some of the previous dark behind, and I'm going to create some lines to suggest the texture of the tile roof here. Now that will happen on the ones that are sort of closer to us. See, that won't be as visible on the ones which are further away. And if it melts in to where I've just painted, all the better. So let's let this dry a bit. Yeah, I can see I'm probably going to want to go a little bit stronger glaze with the blue down here. Parts of in here. Or even down here. Definitely under there. Now let's dry this and then go in for some architectural type detail. Okay, I'm going to detape so that I can sort of see the whole thing and put stuff in where I think it really needs to be. And I'm going to get this fun little brush that Carol gave me to that, and maybe this to create things that I need. Meaning basically darks. Hi, Vivi. wow, you're probably using something very gorgeous this time of year. Hope you're not dealing with Japanese beetles like we are. Oh boy. So I'm sticking with that 2-color palette and just using the yellow ochre for the atmospheric color there. Now this one darker because the light's coming from over here. So it's going to be a little darker on this side and not quite as dark there. Tease that down. Now let's get some no idea what that is. It's probably a lightning rod. There's a rosette there. A little bit of a nod to the 21st century with some antennas or something. Get the pediment of that face of the church there. Gonna look at, okay, there was some. So the closer it gets to us, the perhaps more we want to lavish more detail towards the front end of this building than we do the side over here. So I'm going to have like a bluish mix. I'm going to have a mix that's a little more brown than the blue and a mix that's a little more blue than the brown. And there's all manner of craziness here. This is where I want to get into this funny brush maybe. It's a brush that has a large belly and a little bit of a point, so it's fun to, so it'll hold a fair amount of paint in the belly if you load it on the side, and then you just work the tip. So, let's see, where can we go? Well, let's get on to the Duomo proper and the building. So I'm dipping into my various mixtures here. Now I will make the windows on the one face more apparent than the other face, so that they don't seem to sit in the same space, if that makes sense. Get some shapes recovered. I'm just looking for directions. Up, down, right, left. Vertical, horizontal. Light, dark. Quite a bit. It was a busy building, if you get up close to it. I mean, they went, whoever commissioned it, they wanted to get their money's worth as far as the decoration of the building went. I noticed that in the Italian buildings versus some of the French cathedrals. There was a difference in that respect. So notice I didn't outline the whole thing there. The bottom of this eve, bottom of that eve, not so much that part. Let's load her up again. The different things will be closer together, further back in space. Now, what's this brush is particularly good for is if you need a long straight line. Or, you know, I should have done this lightning rod or whatever the thing is. Let's see, where else do I need that kind of line? There's some kind of nod to modernity. There's some sort of weather vane, who knows what. Cell tower. Now, of course, during the day, this would be an entirely different lighting situation. Now, on these rows, I might go so far as to suggest some of the individual tiles. I might suggest rows of tiles here, for example, but down here I might suggest the individual tiles themselves. I wouldn't do it here, wouldn't do it here, back there. I want to keep this more detail to the front, less detail to the back. put a window there even though there isn't. Maybe one there even though there isn't. Make that skinnier. Well, actually, there is a kind of rooftop business over there. And that's, I think, where I'd like to leave it. Well, wait a minute, I can see a little bit of water in that bluer or that browner mix. And I think I want to tighten up the edge there, just to get that straight. Surprised there's not a lightning rod there or something. There's a pair of windows here, a pair of windows there. Just that. Like so. And that, before I do anything else, I would look at it and make sure it's something that I do actually want to change. So to recap, I'm looking for lights and darks. I'm looking for big shapes. The key parts of the thing that are the characteristic shapes that are recognizable silhouettes. For example, I think that could be a little... I might have gone a little bit short on that. Okay, this face over here needed to actually be a little darker, didn't it? That in there too. So maybe down in here as well. If it looks too spotty, then that's a good indicator that your values are not maybe quite where you want them. Just want to darken them up a bit in glazing, and since we're only using two colors, that makes the whole thing easier. I think maybe I could, there is a sort of a portico there, which I like that. Stair steps is up here, stair steps is up here. But when you're dealing with a situation like this, look for these kinds of things that will lead your eye through. Or this fella, he just kind of cut it off. He took it up to here, which I think was kind of a smart move. Because maybe the lighting at that time of day wasn't maybe what you'd want to be looking for, or would want to deal with. So I'm actually going to borrow a little bit of the detail from this. And using these dark light patterns to lead our eye. Oops. Anything from that I could borrow. Well, maybe a bit of... And let's call it that. Now, for the cooking segment. So I'm going to take the... one last little crazy thing on our... thing like that. Maybe I'll put a small window here, small window there, small window there. Not dark, I'm just going to keep them very general.